They never see it coming. The truth that introverts live two lives. The silent one they show the world, and the intense electric one they carry inside. On the outside, you look calm, reserved, even distant. But inside, your mind storms with thoughts, emotions, and meanings that most people could never handle. That contrast is your hidden identity, and it's the reason people underestimate you before they ever understand you. You weren't born quiet, you were born deep. You were born with a mind that analyzes everything, feels everything, remembers everything. While others rush to speak, you study the room. While people show noise, you carry depth. You've walked through life with a heart that hears what others miss, the cracks in a voice, the changes in energy, the unspoken truth beneath the surface. This inner world is powerful, intense, and alive, even if no one else sees it. Before you go, I want to ask you something. Do you ever feel like people know the outside you, but never the real inner you? Comment the word intense so I know you're one of the quiet minds who watched until the end. And if this spoke to you, make sure you subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind, where your silence is power and your depth finally has a home. Introverts look calm on the outside, but their inner world is intense, emotional, and always active. That contrast is their secret power, the quiet surface that hides a mind moving in layers most people never notice. They walk through the world with a soft expression, a controlled tone, a still energy, yet inside them thoughts twist, collide, sharpen, and bloom with a life of their own. An introvert never truly stops thinking. Even in silence, their mind is writing entire chapters, replaying moments, decoding emotions, and analyzing truths that slip past everyone else. Their calm exterior isn't emptiness. It's containment, the careful decision to protect an inner world that feels too vivid, too raw, too real to display casually. People assume quiet means simple, but the introvert's silence isn't a lack of anything. It's the overflow of everything happening beneath it. Their emotional landscape is wide, complex, and incredibly sensitive. An introvert doesn't just feel something, they feel the meaning behind it, the echo it leaves, the story it reveals. A small gesture can hit them with the weight of a memory, a tone shift can spark questions that unravel entire understandings of a person. They can sense disappointment before it is spoken, tension before it forms, and sincerity before it's proven. This constant emotional activity shapes the way they move through life, carefully, observantly, always aware of more than they show. Their sensitivity isn't fragility, it's intelligence woven with intuition, the kind of awareness that requires quiet so it can see clearly. And because they process everything so deeply, they often prefer to respond with intention rather than react with noise. Their mind is alive even in stillness, turning solitude into fuel. When others get bored, introverts get clear. When the world grows loud, they retreat not to hide, but to reorganize the chaos inside their thoughts. It's in that solitude where they reconnect with themselves, where ideas sharpen into truths, where emotions settle into patterns, and where their intuition regains its strength. The outside world may see someone withdrawn, but internally they are building insights, creating meaning, refining understanding. That active inner world is the reason introverts speak less but understand more, feel softly but love intensely, stay quiet but see everything. Their calm is not an absence of intensity, it is the doorway to it, the visible surface of a mind that never stops breathing, thinking, feeling, or transforming. They notice details others completely miss, energy shifts, tone changes, hidden intentions. This is the introvert's silent radar, always scanning, always absorbing, always catching the small truths that slip through the cracks of ordinary conversations. While people rush through interactions focused on words, introverts listen to everything else, the pauses, the micro-expressions, the emotional temperature that rises and falls before anyone admits what they're feeling. Their mind works like a quiet observer standing just behind their eyes, studying not just what someone says, but how their energy bends around the sentence, how their intention leaks through their tone, how their body reveals what their mouth tries to hide. This sensitivity is not something they learned, it's something they've always carried, a natural instinct to read the room before deciding how to move inside it. Their awareness is not loud, but it is precise. A slight shift in someone's posture, a forced laugh that doesn't match the eyes, a hesitation in a reply. Introverts catch it instantly. They don't react outwardly because they are still collecting pieces, forming patterns, quietly testing their intuition against subtle cues. They see when someone is uncomfortable even before the person recognizes it themselves. They sense emotional distance before any conflict appears. They detect dishonesty in the vibration behind a word, an inconsistency so small that most people would overlook it without a second thought. And while others get blindsided by people's hidden motives, introverts rarely do because they felt the shift long before it became obvious. This ability shapes every part of their connection to the world. It makes them selective, protective, slow to trust, but impossibly loyal when trust is earned. It's why they don't like crowds. Too much noise, too many signals, too many energies to filter at once. It's why they value authenticity, because they can feel the difference between genuine presence and performance. And it's why they often stay quiet in conversations, not because they have nothing to say, but because they are still reading, still understanding, still navigating the emotional map beneath the surface of every interaction. Their intuition isn't magic, it's the result of noticing what others ignore. And when you combine deep observation with emotional intelligence, the truth becomes impossible to hide from them. They see the story behind the story, the intention behind the action, and the reality behind the mask long before anyone else realizes what's happening. They analyze before they speak, which makes their words powerful, not loud. An introvert's silence is never emptiness. It is calculation, reflection, and precision, taking shape in the background of their mind. While others rush into conversations eager to fill the space, introverts move differently. They listen first, observe second, and only then begin to form their response. Every word they choose is filtered through layers of thought, logic, emotion, memory, intuition, until what remains is not noise but meaning. Their pause is not hesitation, it is refinement. They are crafting clarity while everyone else is producing sound. This is why their words land deeper, why people turn quiet when they finally speak, why a single sentence from them carries more weight than a whole paragraph from someone who never stops talking. Inside their mind, thoughts are constantly arranging themselves like pieces of a puzzle, making sure everything fits before being revealed. They don't speak to impress, they speak to express what is true, necessary, and aligned with what they genuinely feel. They are allergic to empty conversation, allergic to forced opinions, allergic to the pressure of talking just to be heard. They prefer silence over superficiality, depth over volume, intention over impulse. And because they take their time to think, the insights they deliver often surprise people. Calm, direct, almost surgical in how accurately they cut to the heart of the matter. Their voice may be soft, but the impact is undeniable because it comes from a mind that refuses to throw words into the world without purpose. This thoughtful communication shapes how they move through relationships, conflicts, and moments of vulnerability. When they finally speak, they offer clarity instead of confusion, truth instead of reaction, perspective instead of chaos. People often assume introverts are quiet because they are unsure, but the reality is the opposite. They stay silent until they can speak from certainty. So they don't argue unless the point matters, they don't explain unless it's worth the energy, and they don't reveal their inner world unless they trust the person enough to handle it. Their words are powerful because they are chosen, not spilled. They understand that language can heal or harm, build or destroy, reveal or expose. So they treat words like currency, valuable, intentional, and never wasted. And in a world full of loud voices competing to be heard, the introvert's quiet truth becomes the one people remember. Their depth often makes people underestimate them until the truth finally shows. People see the quiet posture, the gentle presence, the soft reactions, and they assume simplicity. They assume introverts are passive, harmless, easy to overlook. They mistake silence for emptiness and stillness for weakness, never realizing that behind that calm surface lies a mind far more complex than anything they expect. An introvert's depth is invisible at first glance, not because it is small, but because it is private. They don't flaunt their intelligence, they don't broadcast their insight, and they don't perform their strength. They carry it quietly, almost secretly, like a hidden reservoir of perception and resilience, waiting for the right moment to rise. And because most people judge quickly, they misread the introvert's quietness as a lack of power, until reality proves otherwise. Over time, the truth starts to reveal itself in subtle but undeniable ways. The introvert who seemed shy suddenly reveals a sharp understanding of people's motives. The person who was ignored in group conversations becomes the one who saw the entire picture while everyone else was distracted by their own voices. The one who was underestimated becomes the one others rely on for advice, for clarity, for emotional intelligence, for direction. Introverts have a way of rising from the background without asking for permission, simply because their depth gives them an understanding that cannot stay hidden forever. And when they finally choose to step forward, they do it quietly but decisively, surprising those who assumed they had nothing to offer. Nothing shocks people more than watching someone they dismissed become the person with the clearest mind in the room. This transformation isn't sudden, it's the natural unfolding of someone who thinks deeply, feels deeply, and learns from every experience. Quiet people grow in silence, and that growth is what eventually makes others realize how wrong their first impression was. Introverts don't need to prove anyone wrong, their depth does it for them. They become the person who sees what others overlook, understands what others deny, and remains steady when others fall apart. And when their inner strength emerges, it doesn't shout, it arrives with calm certainty, with solid insight, with a confidence that was built slowly and privately. The same people who underestimated them begin to respect them, sometimes fear them, often need them. Because the truth is simple, depth is not loud, but it is unmistakable. And once someone finally sees it, they never see the introvert the same way again. They feel emotions more deeply than they express, carrying storms in silence. This is the introvert's hidden burden and their hidden strength. People see the calm exterior, the gentle reactions, the composed face that rarely reveals more than a soft smile or a quiet nod. But inside, emotions move like weather systems, powerful and complex, shaping their inner world with a force that would overwhelm someone who isn't built to feel that deeply. An introvert can experience joy like sunlight touching the soul, sadness like an ocean rising behind the ribs, anger like a tight storm cloud forming but never erupting in public. They don't show their emotional storms because they're not chaotic, they are internal. They absorb everything, the tone of a voice, the meaning behind a look, the weight of a moment, and then they carry it inward, letting it settle into the deep places where their thoughts and feelings quietly collide. Their silence is not indifference, it is emotional processing at a level most people never reach. While others spill their reactions instantly, introverts take their time to understand what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, and what truth sits underneath the surface. They replay conversations long after they've ended, analyzing the emotional layers that others never noticed. They hold on to memories more tightly, a kind word, a forgotten promise, a moment of hurt that seemed small to everyone else but landed deeply in their heart. This depth makes them compassionate, intuitive, and incredibly sensitive to the emotional states of the people around them. Yet it also means they often carry pain quietly, choosing not to burden anyone with what they feel, even when the weight becomes heavy. Their emotional storms shape them in ways the world rarely sees. They learn to find strength in solitude, letting their quiet moments become a place to sort through the tangled threads of their heart. They write, reflect, daydream, walk alone, not to escape, but to release what they've absorbed. Their inner life becomes a landscape where feelings are understood instead of suppressed, honored instead of denied. And when they finally express what's inside, they do it with clarity and depth that can shake someone to their core. Their emotions may be silent, but they are powerful. Powerful enough to shape their intuition, their relationships, their boundaries, and their entire identity. Few people will ever understand the storms introverts carry, but those who do realize something profound. Quiet souls don't feel less, they feel more, and they've learned to weather it with a strength the world mistakes for calm. They connect with a very small circle, but with unmatched loyalty and sincerity. Introverts don't scatter their energy among dozens of people. They invest it carefully, quietly, and intentionally. Their hearts are not built for surface-level bonds or fast, shallow friendships that disappear with the first inconvenience. They choose slowly, observing the character behind the words, the consistency behind the actions, the truth behind the face someone shows to the world, And once they let someone into their inner circle, that bond becomes something rare, a connection forged not through convenience, but through trust, depth, and emotional truth. Most people will never realize how selective introverts truly are until they see how devoted they become to the ones who earn their place. Their loyalty is not loud or dramatic. It is steady, reliable, and deeply protective. Introverts show up in ways that matter, remembering small details others forget, offering presence instead of performance, giving emotional support without being asked, and standing by someone even when the world turns chaotic. They don't make grand promises, they keep quiet commitments. They don't announce their loyalty, they live it. And because they give so much of themselves to so few people, the relationships they maintain tend to be more authentic, more intimate, and more enduring than the scattered connections others chase. Their sincerity is woven into everything they do, from the way they listen with full attention to the way they make someone feel truly understood. When an introvert loves you, they love with depth, not noise. And that depth becomes a sanctuary most people don't realize they needed until they experience it. But this loyalty comes with boundaries. Introverts pour into those who value them, but they withdraw from those who take advantage of their quiet devotion. Once trust is broken, it is unlikely to return because introverts know how rare their sincerity is and how much it costs them to give. They protect their energy the way others protect their pride, fiercely and without apology. And that's why their circle stays small, not because they are antisocial, but because they are intentional. They would rather have one genuine connection than 50 hollow ones. One soul who sees them, than a crowd who misunderstands them. Their loyalty may be quiet, but it is unshakable. The kind of loyalty that transforms relationships, strengthens hearts, and leaves an imprint that lasts long after the moment has passed. They recharge alone because the world's noise drains their mental and emotional energy. Introverts are built to feel the world intensely. Every voice, every movement, every shift in atmosphere lands inside them with more weight than most people realize. Crowds, conversations, expectations, and emotional demands don't just fill their space, they fill their mind. The noise of the world presses into them until their thoughts feel crowded and their emotions feel overstimulated. That's why solitude isn't a preference for introverts, it's a necessity. Alone is where their mind exhales, where their inner world returns to order, where the emotional overload slowly unravels into clarity. They step away not to escape people, but to return to themselves, to refill the energy that daily life quietly drains from them. In solitude, their thoughts stretch out and breathe again. The pressure to respond disappears. The emotional noise quiets. The social masks fall. Suddenly, the world becomes softer, slower, easier to process. Their creativity returns, their intuition sharpens, and their sense of self reconnects with the present moment. This is where they sort through everything they absorbed throughout the day, the emotions they picked up from others, the conversations they analyzed in silence, the subtle tensions they felt but didn't express. Alone time becomes their mental reset button, a place where they regain balance, rebuild their strength, and organize the pieces of themselves the world scattered. It is in that quiet space that they become whole again. People often misunderstand this need for solitude, labeling it as avoidance, coldness, or disinterest, but those who truly know introverts understand that their time alone is what allows them to show up meaningfully in the world. Without it, they burn out, shut down, or become emotionally overwhelmed. With it, they return calmer, kinder, more centered, and more capable of deep connection. Their solitude isn't loneliness, it's alignment. It's the place where their mind stops fighting for space and finally finds peace. Introverts thrive not because the world is quiet, but because they know how to create quiet inside themselves. And when they emerge from that solitude, they carry a strength that only those who understand the power of silence ever truly recognize. Their quietness is not weakness, it's their strongest form of focus, intuition, and inner strength. Most people misread silence because they fear it. They assume that those who don't speak loudly must have nothing to say, that those who don't fight for attention must lack confidence, that those who don't dominate a room must not belong in it. But introverts know a deeper truth. Quietness is not the absence of power, it is the refinement of it. Their silence is where their mind sharpens, where their intuition heightens, where their perception becomes razor focused. While others scatter their energy outward trying to be seen, introverts turn inward, building a strength that doesn't need validation to exist. Their quiet presence is not something to overlook, it is something to respect, because it comes from a place of deep awareness and grounded self-control. Inside that quiet, their focus becomes a kind of superpower. They can lock onto a task, idea, or emotion with intensity that surprises people who underestimate them. Their mind filters out the unnecessary, tuning into the subtle truths that others overlook. They see patterns before they're obvious, sense tension before it's spoken, understand motives others ignore. Their intuition grows stronger in stillness, fed by observation, honesty, and emotional intelligence, collected over years of watching the world more than speaking into it. What looks like distance is actually deep engagement. What looks like hesitation is careful thought. What looks like withdrawal is self-preservation, not fear. Their silence isn't empty, it's strategic, intentional, and deeply powerful. And this inner strength doesn't erupt. It emerges quietly, steadily, at exactly the moment it's needed. When life becomes chaotic, introverts don't fall apart, they anchor themselves with inner clarity. When people push them, they don't react impulsively, they respond with precision shaped by reflection. When the world overwhelms them, they retreat to rebuild, and then return stronger, more grounded, more self-aware. Their quiet strength is not built on dominance, but on depth. It's the kind of strength that doesn't shout because it doesn't need to. And once people finally see it, once they witness the calm power behind the quiet exterior, they realize something undeniable. The introvert's silence was never a lack of strength. It was the container that held all of it. You've seen the truth now. The quiet ones are not invisible. They're powerful in ways the world rarely understands. Their depth, their intuition, their inner storms, and silent strength are what make them unforgettable, even if they move through life softly. Introverts don't need noise to leave an impact. Their presence does it all on its own. If this felt like it described a part of you that no one else ever sees, then remember this: your quiet mind is not a flaw, it's your advantage. Before you go, I want to ask you something deeply honest. Do you ever feel like your silence holds more truth than most people's words? If you watched until the end, tap the word "quiet power" in the comments so I know you're one of the rare ones who truly understands what it means to think deeply, feel intensely, and move silently through a loud world. And if you're ready to explore more about the mind behind the calm, subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind, where your silence is finally seen, understood, and celebrated.